Ever had a car that stole your heart? Maybe it was lightning fast, or perhaps it was the one that carried your newborn home. But then there's the flip side. Those cars that just didn't cut it. Maybe the seats felt like sitting on rocks, or the paint faded faster than a summer tan. In the car world, it's the same story. Some cars, like the Ford Mustang or the Toyota Corolla, shine as legends. But others, well, they're total flops. In this video, we're diving into the 10 most hated American cars in history, vehicles that left drivers more frustrated than impressed. Number 10. Ford Pinto. The Ford Pinto is notorious for all the wrong reasons. Imagine a car that's so poorly engineered that it could explode if someone taps the rear bumper. That was the Pinto's less than charming legacy. This car, marketed as Ford's first subcompact, was as grateful as a brick on wheels. Whether you chose the coupe or the wagon, you ended up with a cheap, awkward-looking vehicle. Sure, the wagon's longer body helped to balance out the strange proportions, but it was like putting lipstick on a pig. When the public learned that the Pinto could turn into a firestorm and a fender bender, consumers bolted faster than a car on nitrous. Once a frequent sight on American roadways, Pintos have soon become an uncommon and fascinating artifact, much like seeing a payphone in 2024. It's a miracle anyone got out of the dealership lot at all, unless, of course, you needed a car that also served as a ticking time bomb. Number 9. Cadillac Simmeron. The Cadillac Simmeron is the automobile that Cadillac wants you to forget. In the early 1980s, the industry began reducing across the board. Enter the Simmeron, a small caddy built to compete with European imports. It was billed as the caddy that zigs, which confused purchasers. Zig? When did we tell Cadillac to zig? Buyers preferred Cadillac's smooth, boat-like luxury over a cramped, underpowered rebadge of a Chevy Cavalier. Cadillac did, however, continue to produce the Simmeron from 1982 to 1988. Even in its latter years, marketing was half-hearted, as Cadillac recognized it was selling at a loss. Despite being a symbol of change, Simmeron's failure demonstrated that the brand's loyalists did not desire change. They preferred the original, large Cadillacs. GM's attempts to reinvent Cadillac were received with apathy. The Simmeron continues to serve as a cautionary story about what happens when a brand attempts to zag when everyone expects it to zag. Number 8. Chevy HHR. Chevy developed the HHR during an era when the company was in danger of failing. A vintage vehicle in the tradition of the successful Chrysler PT Cruiser, it didn't hurt that General Motors had attracted its designer away to work on the HHR. Unfortunately, lightning usually does not strike twice. This was the situation with the HHR. Not a bad design, it was only that the market was tired of outdated PT Cruiser-style rollers. A panel delivery not seen since the equally horrible Vega, which launched a year later. It did little to increase sales, but was an interesting addition. On a personal note, when it was unveiled at the Detroit Auto Show, it was a beautiful blue metallic with the odd tire and wheel combination. It just sat and looked strange. If Chevy had spent an hour adjusting the tires, wheels, and stance, it would have looked much better. Chevy and GM, in general, operate in mysterious ways, and we were left wondering if there was anything else going on behind the scenes. Unfortunately, it did not matter. The HHR operated from 2006 until 2011. Nobody missed it. Number 7. Mustang II. Ford had a great thing going with the Mustang, but by the 1970s, downsizing had become something. Naturally, Ford elected to shrink the Mustang, which debuted in 1974 as the Mustang II. What the crap, Ford? What were you thinking? Concept sketches brought together the future lines that did not align front to back. However, production in 1974 on the hefty-sized body of the Pinto platform was a disaster. At the very least, you could have a 302 Ci V8 in that short wheelbase, lightweight car. It was a scream, even with the pollution rules choking engines. By 1978, Ford had seen better and was able to convert a stylish Mustang to the Fox body chassis. Number 6. 1958 to 60, Edsel. The Edsel, introduced in 1958, was manufactured by Ford as a separate brand sandwiched between the Mercury and Lincoln. The majority believed it was a funny-looking Mercury and chose the better-looking and less expensive Mercury. The Edsel was an immediate flop. despite billions of dollars spent on marketing. Whole college marketing classes are based on the monumental flop that was the Edsel. As much as Ford wanted you to believe it was distinctive in every way, the American buying public recognized it as a tarted-up Mercury. A tarted-up Mercury with a puckered grille. Many could not get beyond the vertical grille. Toned down in 1959, nothing seemed to help, and only a few thousand all-new Edsels were sold in 1960 before Ford cut its losses and tried to bury as much of the Edsel as possible. Despite having a fan base and collector value now, they're still regarded as a subpar Ford vehicle. Number 5. Chevy Vega. The Chevy Vega, another unsuccessful downsizing automobile, had a good appearance. The proportions and styling were appealing, so was the price. It was Chevy's first true subcompact, and it was initially successful. Then they started to rust severely. To keep the price low, Chevy cut corners, several corners. One thing it did was remove undercoating. Other corners had been cut as well. In a few short years, it became clear that a Vega would rust, tremble, or otherwise disintegrate. This is one of the reasons why GM products are still regarded as substandard today. It's a shame because when it debuted in 1970 as a 1971 model, the VW Beetle was a huge seller. It was well built despite its unusual appearance. The Vega was an American-designed Beetle competitor. However, it lacked the attributes that the Beetle possessed. Despite its more American appearance, the construction quality could not compete with the Beetle. It miraculously died in 1977. Number 4. Chevy Avio. Chevy's Avio was the first model released following GM's acquisition of South Korean Daewoo in 2002. Remember, GM declared bankruptcy in 2009. Thus, this acquisition occurred only 7 years ago. Edsel Design created the initial design, but when it was released, it was only a shell of what it had been. The subcompact was known by various names, including Chevy, Daewoo, Holden, Pontiac, Raven, and Suzuki. No company should have bothered. Internally known as the T200 and later the T250, each version became worse. The Avio was a claptrap of awful. It was tiny, plastic, and made of cheaper-than-cheap materials. In 2012, it was redesigned as the Sonic. It's best to avoid anything associated with GM subcompact and instead opt for a Kia, Hyundai, or bicycle. Number 3. Pontiac Aztec. A poor American automobile list is incomplete without the Pontiac Aztec. GM was ecstatic about the breakthrough multi-purpose vehicle, which was marked as such. Upon its release, it boasted that this was their Chrysler PT Cruiser. Not that it was comparable, but that it would quickly become an unexpected, genre-busting success. It is the distinct GM hubris that underpins everything GM does to this day. While it suffered some setbacks, it still believes it ranks higher than the other, smaller producers. Despite its bankruptcy and ongoing missed opportunities, the Aztec is the outcome of that type of atmosphere. While everyone involved in its development worked hard to make the Aztec a success, its isolation in Detroit and corporate culture devoid of reality made it a symbol of everything wrong with General Motors. Number 2. Jeep Compass. Let's talk about the Jeep Compass, a vehicle with a lot of potential, but ultimately fell short. Jeep teased us in 2002 with the Compass concept car, a sleek and engaging design that got people talking. Fast forward to its release, and it seemed like all the promise was gone in translation. As is often the case, forcing a fresh notion into an existing platform resulted in a clumsy, off-balance design. They increased height, width, and mass, and the attractive design became simply another awkward-looking SUV. When it first hit the market, many people were perplexed as to how its design made it through FCA's approval process. Even after a 2017 upgrade smoothed out some of the kinks, it didn't exactly dominate the sales rankings. The Jeep Compass is a cautionary tale about what happens when a bold concept's inspiration is watered down in production. A lesson that staying true to the original vision is sometimes the best path ahead. Number 1. Chrysler Sebring. The Mustang is one of those cars that has continued to develop over time. Though it passed through some rocky times, each revision was a solid attempt to improve on the preceding model. The Chrysler Sebring started as powerful and attractive. It was a rather boring platform with dynamic styling that came in both a coupe and a unique-looking convertible body style. However, as time passed, the situation became increasingly dire, morphing into something worse with each generation. The convertible was noted for its architecture similar to linguinis. Harsh bumps were known to cause the doors to fly open as the car shuddered and shook. The last iteration, whether in sedan or convertible form, was big, ungainly, and an ugly relic of its former self. It's been gone for nearly 10 years and is forgotten. Thanks for taking this wild ride down memory lane with us. If you enjoyed the journey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for the latest updates. We got plenty more stories, surprises, and nostalgia coming your way, so stay tuned.